Good morning and welcome to Ireland AM on Virgin Media 1.
It's a pleasure to have you with us. It's Thursday, the 28th of March. It's nearly the long weekend and we have so much to come on today's show as always.
The government's new draft transport strategy suggests we should bring in congestion charges. We're going to speak to Professor Brian Caulfield, Professor of Transport at Trinity College, about that at 7:35. If you have an opinion on congestion charges, text us 089 611 111.
Can you imagine being stuck in traffic and then having to pay for the privilege? It's meant to get rid of it, that's it. Parting ways but don't want the pain. We're going to be speaking to mediator Michelle Brown about how to navigate the incredibly difficult situation of getting a divorce, but keeping it out of the courts and hopefully making it better for everybody. That's coming up at 7:45 this morning.
And at 8:15 we'll talk to two women about how they look after the dead for a living.
There you go. Teasing that one. Alan is right over there. Hello, darling.
Right over here. Look at us.
Hi.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Good.
I'm great. How are you this morning?
I'm good this morning. Now, we have a ream of recommendations in cinema and streaming. We've a leg of lamb in the kitchen with Edward Hayden, and we're learning how to skip. Yeah. I'll just skip and that'll be after the lamb. Yeah. So we can get our heart rate up. It's going to be fun. Now, Deric is treading the boards at Aladdin at the Bord Gáis Energy Theatre this morning. So you're going to take to the stage later, Deric?
I am indeed, Alan. Certainly the bit of skipping will help burn off the calories. Anyway, following our trips to Roscommon and County Sligo, we've landed here back in the heart of Dublin City Centre this morning, and it is a wet start across Antrim and down status yellow there through parts of Ulster this morning, and elsewhere plenty of showers with brighter spells mixed in right across today, but really hail, sleet and a taster of snow and thunder, would you believe, out there now for your Holy Thursday, so certainly not out of the woods just yet. Now, you may notice the Bord Gáis Energy Theatre just over my shoulder here, their production of Aladdin kicking off right about now until the middle of April. So we're going to be taking you behind the scenes, meeting the cast and crew. We've got genies, we've got magic carpets, we've got lamps. We're going to be escaping to a whole new world with you. Shane Filan, sign me up.
Do you know that he can do it all?
I do, yeah. I also know he said there's
threat.
snow on the way. God, I'd hate to be heading towards the southwest.
Is there snow in Kerry today? What?
There's going to be, by the time you get there.
Happy Easter, everybody.
Maybe.
Happy Easter.
Anyway.
Coming up, we're going to be getting into today's top stories, including the outgoing Taoiseach's comments on the opposition. It's like he's been let loose.
Yeah, he's not retiring quietly into the good night.
No.
No. Stay with us.
Welcome back. It's time now to take a look at this morning's papers. We're going to start with the Examiner. Its headline: deaths on roads may exceed 200 this year. The government has admitted that at least 40 more people could die on the roads in 2024 than in 2023. And Road Safety Minister Jack Chambers warned more than 200 people could be killed in crashes this year.
The Independent leads with string of tech firms snub Foley meeting on child online safety. Several social media and tech companies snubbed a meeting with Education Minister Norma Foley last month about keeping children safe online.
The Star leads with mums, two angels. Una Bowden and children Ciara and Saoirse are the people who died after an accident on the N17 in Sligo on Tuesday.
The Mirror also goes with loving smiles together forever. The mum and two daughters killed in a horror crash were named last night as their heartbroken father made his way home from abroad. The husband of Una Bowden had been working in Ethiopia when the accident happened.
Similarly, The Sun leads with dad's crash agony as family all killed.
The Herald goes with she's getting butchered on them stairs. Two men are accused of taking part in a premeditated attack on a woman who was left with serious injuries after she was repeatedly stabbed in a Dublin flats complex.
Something completely different on the front of the Irish Times. It says motorists set to face congestion or clean air zone charges. Motorists face potential congestion charges or paying for the cost of clean air zones in cities and towns by 2030 under a radical government strategy aimed at reducing traffic, gridlock and greenhouse gases.
And finally, higher taxes for bigger cars. Large vehicles such as SUVs will be hit with higher taxes under new proposals from Transport Minister Eamon Ryan that aim to reduce private car use. It is the top story today on the Daily Mail.
Now, welcome back. We're going to have more on congestion charges. That's at 7:35. But Leo Varadkar, he has accused Sinn Féin of displaying, and this is quote, so much cowardice on hate speech legislation.
Joining us with that story and everything else this morning is Aisling Maloney, political correspondent from the Irish Daily Mail. So Aisling, the outgoing Taoiseach not retiring quietly.
No.
Yes, indeed, and good morning to you both. Yes, this is Leo Varadkar, as you say, the outgoing Taoiseach, and now no longer the leader of Fine Gael. He's saying that Sinn Féin's calls for the hate speech bill to be scrapped are showing, as you said, so much cowardice. And they're saying, I suppose, that Sinn Féin, Leo Varadkar is saying that Sinn Féin are playing into the idea that some of this bill is misunderstood and that there's misinformation around it. And he's talking about how, I suppose, Sinn Féin seem to be here jumping on, I suppose, a bandwagon that's forming around opposition to this hate speech bill, and sort of saying again that there's sort of these populist tones that they're kind of running with the way the wind is blowing at the moment on this particular bill. Now, for those watching at home, this is a bill that was introduced by the Justice Minister Helen McEntee, I think as far back as 2022. It's been going through the houses of the Oireachtas, and it was voted through the Dáil kind of resoundingly. It was supported by Sinn Féin in the Dáil in its current form. Now, they say that they voted it through because there was some commitment from the Justice Minister that there would be a review of the legislation and that they would accept some amendments and they would look at it. Now, no amendments have been accepted to date, and Sinn Féin seem to have some fundamental issues with it. But the question is, why would you vote it in if you had fundamental issues with the bill? They're saying now to scrap it entirely and go back to square one on an issue where, you know, there is a huge call for stronger, more robust legislation around hate, particularly as we live in the digital and social media age, where people need further protections online against hateful content. So this would also kind of feed into some of that. So you kind of have to beg the question what we're going to do here if we don't have any of this.
Why is the hate? Because a couple of years ago when it was proposed, it was like, yes, we need to stop people being able to say these horribly disgusting, offensive and also dangerous things online. But now it's like, oh, hold on a second now. Is it woolly? Like, is there sort of situations where you're like, hold on now, lads, what does that mean?
So I think here Sinn Féin have said that they accept the good intentions of this bill and that they accept the principle that we do need legislation, as you say, around this.
The legislation that currently deals with this was drafted in the 1980s. So not only like pre-social media, pre-internet.
Yes, and also I suppose the fundamental issue with that previous legislation and the need for this new legislation, they're saying, is that Gardaí haven't been able to really enforce that legislation. It wasn't robust enough, it didn't have teeth, it wasn't able to help the people it needed to help, it didn't protect anyone. So this new legislation is needed to do that. Now, you're asking there, is it woolly? I suppose that's a question of what side of the argument you're on.
The referendum was woolly, like they lost 2 referendums.
And I think here is where you have people see the need for this legislation, and then when you get down to the nitty-gritty of like the technical legal bits, it doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but I suppose legally, when you really break it down, some of it is quite important. So in particular, this idea of not defining hate in the bill, that's a huge issue, particularly for government senators that are currently looking at this bill. It's now in the Seanad. So they're saying that hate needs to be defined. The Justice Minister, Helen McEntee, is saying, no, we don't need to define hate. It wasn't defined in the previous legislation and there was no problem interpreting what it meant. It's not defined in other European legislation like this and there's no problem interpreting what it meant. However, she's kind of been ardent on this, but you'd kind of question if there's so much opposition to not defining hate, would you not just invite an amendment in order to get it through? Yeah. And then there's also other issues, like I suppose it's not the only issue people have with the hate speech legislation. There's also a section in it where if 2 people are in an argument or get into a schmozzle during a public order incident and one calls one something a name and then the other responds with a hateful, a slur on a protected characteristic in this legislation, that person could potentially be convicted, this is what Sinn Féin are saying, of a hate crime, and they don't think that's proportionate. Okay. And there's other parts as well around if you walk around with 20,000 leaflets that have hateful content on them.
Listen, it's hard to legislate what people say, but it is something that needs to be done. But it does lead on to our next story. And this is something that I certainly know we talk about. And it drives me absolutely insane because tech companies operate as nation states.
They're laughing at us.
They can do whatever they want.
I'm sorry, they are absolutely laughing at us.
So tech firms just didn't go to meet Education Minister Norma Foley. She was trying to talk about online safety for children and they were like, we don't care. Is that what happened?
Yes, yes, pretty much, Myrne. So basically, the Education Minister Norma Foley in February asked for a string, I suppose, a large number of tech companies to come and talk to her about age verification on the platforms, and also controls around how young children are having and accessing these platforms. So basically, like, I think anyone with kids would know, anyone who knows a child would know that at, under 13 years old, it's the digital age of consent. You can't be on these platforms younger than 13, but yet they are on them because they go on and they click, yeah, I'm 13. And Norma Foley was trying to say, look, what's your age verification process? Can you put in something? Can you make it more robust?
Sorry, you've got children who are 7 and 9.
It drives me absolutely
talk to me
demented, right? Because they were brought into this meeting and a couple of them didn't turn up, but Meta and TikTok were at the meeting. Norma Foley asked them, as you say, they've got this age verification, that's the rule, will you enforce it? They basically said, no, we're not going to bother. I think they came up with some woolly language about we are open to continued engagement on this issue in the future. It's basically, if you imagine a publican serving 15 and 16-year-olds and their defence was, well, listen, we do have a rule, but I don't actually ID anyone, I'm not really into any of that, or I don't ask anyone their age. The local district court judge would whip their licence off them so quick it would make your head spin. I just think we are going to look back in years to come with absolute dismay that we let this fester for so long.
But they're allowed.
Like it's children's safety.
Yeah.
How often do we have to fail children when it comes to safety in this country?
I think this
before
also...
we actually take it seriously.
But they're not answerable across the globe, right? They're just not answerable. They can do whatever they want. They're nation states.
And actually Ireland in particular, because these countries have European headquarters and global headquarters here in some cases, Ireland actually has the responsibility to regulate them. Now, this is all kind of coming in, so we will see more regulation on these companies. But as you say there, I mean, it's the equivalent. We're looking here at, I suppose, a phenomenon as important as the smoking ban and as important as the tobacco industry, really. I mean, it's the equivalent of asking the tobacco industry to self-regulate when it was clear that there was incredible harms of smoking, health harms. And I think we all accept, and it's widely accepted, that use of social media at an incredibly young age can be harmful.
Sorry, regulators get their knickers in a twist about GDPR. I mean, they're more worried about kind of the tech company sharing my birthday than they are about what my son and daughter can watch online. It's demented.
Like, your frustration is palpable because you're sitting there going, parents are being left out of this because how do you regulate your child? Of course you have to parent, but it's becoming increasingly difficult. We'd love to hear from you at home because when they're just flouting, they're not answerable to anyone. It's really interesting, and I can't imagine trying to parent in digital age. 0896 111 111. Do they have to be answerable? They have to be answerable to someone, surely, right? Yeah. But apparently they're just not. Let's move on to some story. Breakups are hard, right? Okay.
Breakups are hard.
It's on the next page.
No, I know. I'm just trying to think. I've taken tracksuit bottoms from ex-boyfriends. Really comfy tracksuits.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, boys always have the best tracksuits.
You still have them?
Yes, I do.
Is there not some, like, when there are breakups, some, like, shame package where you send back all those things, you know?
Keep the good tracksuit bottoms.
Okay.
What has someone taken off his ex-girlfriend?
This is quite interesting, yeah. So a woman posted on Reddit to say that she broke up with her ex-boyfriend, and in particular she noted that she broke up with him because he doesn't pay his way and he refuses to tip service staff, and that should have been her two first red flags. So she said that he came to collect all his stuff and she went into her bedroom and fell asleep and woke up and he had robbed her toilet. And now he was a plumber, she says, so he was able to know what he was doing, which I think is, he was able to apply the skills there, but wasn't able to recognise his bad behaviour.
Oh my God.
He should have just unplumbed it from behind so she'd use it. Sorry, this is getting worse.
Stop it. No, now we're seeing your nefarious mind.
Well, that would have been really nasty.
He robbed her toilet.
Robbed her toilet. I mean, that required real premeditation. He had to have some van, you know.
Have you taken anything from an ex? I'm not expecting to hear a toilet today.
No, but if you have, 0896 111 111, let us know.
We'd love to hear from you. Aisling, thank you so much for joining us today from the Daily Mail. We'll be back with you on Ireland AM in just a minute.
Thanks for staying with us. Now, the Green Party has proposed a new draft transport strategy for Ireland, which could see the introduction of congestion charges in urban areas.
Here to tell us about it is Professor of Transport at Trinity College Dublin, Brian Caulfield. Hello, Brian. It's lovely to have you here.
Good morning.
Normally we're here talking about trains and the metro and
Yes.
everyone's going, hey, there's places outside of Dublin. Today is congestion charges around the country. Can you tell us more about this?
So that's one of the things that they're looking at around the country. So there's 35 measures that are fairly specific with timelines on it. Congestion charges are one of them. Low emission zones are another one, where we ban cars of a certain age that produce, very high levels of air pollution from the city centres. There's freight aspects to this as well. There's, the kitchen sink is in this to try and reduce emissions by 2030.
By 2030, that's the plan.
Yeah.
Now, look at in other countries where these congestion charges and all brought in, they have a very good transport system. We don't in this country. Will this work?
We don't yet, I would hope, is the answer to that. It needs that public transport backbone for it to work.
We don't have that.
We don't have that. By 2030, I think...
We won't have it.
We won't have it. We'll have better bus services, I think, by 2030. But to bring in some of the measures that are there would be, draconian. They would be inequitable if that bus system or that rail system isn't in place. So this isn't something that's going to happen tomorrow. This is something that's probably at least another 10 years away.
Because when you think of congestion charges, I suppose an awful lot of people would be in London.
Yes.
They would have seen the congestion charges there. They're in major European capitals, they have this. So what are they looking at? Is it sort of a situation of you can go so far in Galway, but as soon as you get to the cathedral,
Square or somewhere like
whatever,
that,
then you've got to pay a charge.
Exactly, that there would be this circle around the cities that once you pass that, then you're going to be charged. The charges may vary depending upon the vehicle. Electric cars may get in for free, that type of thing. But it's in the big cities around Europe. It's in smaller cities as well that have very bad air quality. So around the low emission zones, particularly in northern Italy, there's a lot of places that have those charging zones.
And what about, say, if you're just dropping in, for work purposes, if you're a business and you're dropping to shops and stuff, is that exempt?
If they haven't gotten that far in the system.
Okay. I'm just thinking of businesses going, every time we have to go in and drop the stuff in, we have to pay money.
That all needs to be fleshed out. And one of the things that's part of this is there's a public consultation. So, everybody watching.
Okay, but what do you make of this? Because an awful lot of the time, we're here, and obviously air quality is an issue. It causes, if you've got asthma and you're living in a city, there's implications for people. But when you mention things like this, people get their backs up, and you can understand why when there's no alternative.
Exactly. I can totally understand why. People will still always need their cars. They need to see that there is a viable alternative there. We need to start to produce that alternative. The thing is, we spent decades underinvesting in transport, public transport in this country. Yeah. And now we're at a pinch point where we have to do both pretty quickly in quick succession in order to meet our emissions targets. So it will annoy an awful lot of people. There's no votes, I think, in this type of policy whatsoever.
There definitely isn't. Is there incentives for people maybe to do this? I was reading that there might be cheaper premiums in cars and stuff like that. So are they offering incentives for people?
That is one of the plans. I'm not sure how it would technically work yet, that if you're carpooling, so if the three of us all came here this morning in a car, that you would get lower insurance on your car or something along those lines. I've no idea how that's going to work.
And they were even saying about stopping it's on-street car parking in cities. But surely that's just going to add to the people who own multi-storey car parks hiking up their prices.
I think part of the plan is definitely around parking, reducing parking. And those multi-stories, I think, when this type of plan comes in and we have all the public transport, they will become persona non grata in our cities. It's also in there in the public sector as well. They talk about reducing parking in the public sector too.
I'd love to hear from people about this, what you make of congestion charges. This is around the country, Cork, Galway, Waterford, 0896 111 111, because there is a real big worry that cities are dying. We've got retail parks and shopping centres all around cities.
And
they've got free car parking. And certainly being from Limerick, there's a real worry about what's going on in the city centre because shops are leaving. And there's no one going in. Is this going to add to it, to just kind of go, well, our cities are dead?
I suppose it's a reimagining of our city centres. I'm from Waterford and we've done that.
Yeah.
We've pedestrianised great parts of the city, but parts of the city are dead as well.
Yeah.
That's because, I suppose, neglect and investment in the city too. But There is that fear, but when you look at the international comparators, and I'm not talking New York or London, but if you look at, say, Auckland and cities of that size have done similar things about reallocating road space, and they've thrived. The footfall increases.
Okay.
The key thing is to measure all of this.
But it's how
sensors
to
everywhere.
get into the city. So you need a good public transport
get
and a
people in.
reliable
Yeah.
public transport to get into the city, and knowing that it's going to be there on time and it's not going to be full, and not 2 buses are going to pass you by full before you can get on the 3rd one, and you're there for half an hour waiting on it.
Exactly.
I know, like,
exactly.
but you see, this is what gets my goat up about this when they say you have all these big plans. And the reality is, has Eamon Ryan, well, I know he's on his bike, but some of these ministers, have they stood at a... he's on his bike, but you know what I mean? But you know, have they stood at a bus stop and waited and saw 2 buses go by full and stood there, and you get so sort of annoyed that you say, well, the next time I'm just going to drive in.
Oh, well, I had a ghost bus incident yesterday as well, where I needed to get someone somewhere quickly, and you know that impacts. I'm sure he definitely hears an awful lot about it. I'm sure he gets it on the doorstep about these issues. There is measures there to look at the quality of the service. That needs to be better. You're right. Before we start to look at any of these measures,
can we quickly talk about the Metrolink? And we the last time
Brian
we were
doesn't
here,
want to.
the last time we were here, we were talking about this. We're the only country in Europe, I think, that doesn't have a Metrolink to an airport. And now there's more delays. It's going to cost probably another 250 million onto it.
There will be more delays. There's more information that's coming out from Transport Infrastructure Ireland. So
that they didn't give to people in the first place.
I'm not sure whether they didn't give it to them, but there's more information that's coming out.
If it wasn't there, how did it's only coming out now? But this is it. So what's happening now?
So this information will be given out, and then parties will be able to provide comment on it. It's very important that we get this done right, because it's a very, very expensive piece of infrastructure.
It certainly is. People want it. People don't want it. Do you think it's going to happen?
I hope it's going to happen. I think there's so much momentum behind it now. We've spent so much money on it. I think it'd be a brave...
How much have we spent at this stage?
I think the last figure I heard was something like 300 million we'd spent on it.
And there hasn't been a brick laid.
There hasn't been a shovel in the ground yet. Well, to build the line, there hasn't. And this has started... It was 2015 when we launched the Metrolink plan.
Oh, my God, this
Lord.
country sometimes. Brian Caulfield,
They're all on their
Professor
bikes,
of Transport.
apparently.
They're all on your bike. Follow Eamon Ryan, Professor of Transport, Trinity College Dublin. Thank you so much, as always, for joining us.
Thank you, Brian.
Sorry,
Cheers.
I just get so...
You
anyway.
do, it really gets you. Coming up, the scars of divorce and how to heal them quickly. Keeping it light.
We'll see you in a few minutes.
Now, divorce applications in 2020 rose by nearly a third. This was after the introduction of legislation that cut in half the time that was required for a separation.
Family mediator Michelle Brown joins us now to discuss this incredibly tricky time of life. Michelle, how are you? Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm great. Thanks very much for having me.
So, divorce is it's a tough thing anyway, right? But then when you're going on top, the costs are prohibitive. We found out so much, I think, during COVID about how families are forced to stay together as a result of how expensive this is, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, costs is one factor, but I suppose the process of how we're dealing with it and how damaging that is, the actual process itself through the courts, is something that, you know, an awful lot of people feel that they've no choice. And what I'm saying is there is a choice and there is an alternative to the court system. At the moment, it's well reported all over the newspapers that the courts are backed up, that there's difficulties in the courts. So, you know, there doesn't seem to be a will to reduce those cases. There seems to be a political will out there to try and, you know, maintain the status quo of how we're dealing with divorce. So, in my opinion, 70% at least of those people need not be there. We need not be taking those cases against each other. So the alternative for me is mediation. The Mediation Act 2017 was a game changer for how we can deal with divorce, because it legislated for us to deal with divorce outside of court.
Legally
to deal with
mediate.
divorce outside. So what that means is, instead of each of you going to pick your own solicitor and your own barrister. The alternative is to go to somebody whose professional position it is to work for the two of you. The legislation means you can create that agreement without the need to go to court. So it's already here. It's already set up.
That factor is key, as you say. So you as a mediator would be acting for both, in the interest of both, as opposed to the kind of adversarial
That's
situation.
The adversarial position when you go to two separate parties. So the first thing that's done is a case is created. What did he do? What did she do? Isn't he awful? Isn't she whatever? And it creates, as you say, an adversarial position. The cost is one thing that we know about. It's flagged all the time. But the cost emotionally on the families, on the children, it's yet to be told the damage we're doing. And the idea that children aren't affected is just ridiculous. Yeah. They are most definitely affected.
You are a mediator. Yeah. You have been through divorce yourself, so you've seen kind of the effects that it has.
Yeah.
How does mediation work? So say two people are like, this, we no longer want to be together. Because already I can imagine that you're kind of going, OK, this hasn't worked out. It's tough enough emotionally as it is.
Yeah.
How does it work?
OK, so for me, I would say to people, first port of call would not be to pick separate sides, OK? So call a mediator, call somebody who's an independent. By all means, take advice where you like. Unfortunately, it's not very clear. However, get an independent person to work with the two of you. Now you say, well, we can't talk to each other. It's, you know, which is a real common thing. We hate each other. That's okay. We can work around that. People think of mediation as sitting in, you know, in a very friendly environment. It's not. Mediators, negotiators, peacemakers are dealing with the most difficult things in society in the world. So, you know, dealing with a couple who have fallen out and can't talk to each other is par for the course. That's what we do. But you don't have to be in the same room together. Very often I would see couples in different meetings. Now, I see couples to begin with separately anyway. That's a requirement. But if couples don't want to sit together in a room for meetings, they don't have to. So, you know, even if it's really difficult, you're only going to make it worse by taking cases against each other. You know, it's a very...
But are you sitting there then? Do you go through like the financials, the children, the schools, the transport? Like, is that
Absolutely.
You sit there and look at it all?
It starts with an agreement to mediate that we agree to disclose our financial positions. So they disclose their financial positions. We go through what's required for each particular couple, whether you've, you know, numerous properties or no properties, whether you have 3 children or 6 or whatever the case may be. Each couple is individual. Their needs. But obviously, everything that needs to be addressed is addressed. And the ultimate aim is to get a legally binding separation agreement. And then when the couple is ready, they have their consent terms for divorce. So when you need to go to court, it's a very different picture because you have a consent divorce. It's not a case. It's not a battle. It doesn't have the expense attached and it doesn't have the trauma attached to a court case. And
I should confess a bias because my wife does this work. So I just think it's been a brilliant innovation, as you say, since 2017. But I appreciate every case is different and has their own kind of unique aspects. But are there common issues that kind of are more difficult to deal with? The presence of children, say, for example, or is it money that kind of people
It's usually money. To be honest with you, you say to people, what's the most important aspect, and people will say children. And coming to a parenting agreement,
money.
And it's the money. It's the money. But I really feel there's a responsibility on government to provide guidelines. This is not rocket science. I don't consider myself a genius and I could sit down and sort this out if the Department of Justice would engage. There isn't the appetite to sort this out. We need an agreement around what maintenance should look like, what guidelines are for maintenance. For example, let's look at what's come out of the courts for the past 2 years. Let's look at averages. Let's create guidelines. It's not rocket science.
For personal injury.
Yeah, exactly.
A version of that.
Yeah, exactly, right? So what does maintenance look like? What are marital assets? What's correct provision? The law is so vague it can be interpreted and it's facilitating these cases.
But once we've got tort law in this country, as we have seen, our personal injury claims are so huge because once it's laid down, it's done, you can see how people would be worried about there being, well, this is what happened once, so that's it, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. You know, like is it not very individual?
No, it's not. It's not very individual. If a couple, the idea is that you come out of the marriage with correct provision for both parties, with fairness for both parties. What's currently the rule of thumb is that what there is in a marriage is between the parties. So we need more guidelines as to what that looks like. It's not that difficult. There isn't the will to do it. There's the will to keep going with these cases. And it can be
There's
done.
a book, Scars of Divorce.
I explain it all.
Michelle's book. She explains it all in this. Just don't get married, lads. You'd be grand. It's fine. I'm joking. Michelle Byrne, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Problem.
We really
Thanks
do
for having
appreciate it. 0896 111 111 to get in contact with us. Now, still to come this morning, from childhood games to cardio games. We find out why skipping isn't just for children.
Plus, an elegant Easter dish in the kitchen. We'll see you very soon.
Hello, welcome back. You are watching Ireland AM.
Now at 8:15 this morning, we are going to speak to two women who work in the important field of embalming. They're going to be here to tell us why it is their calling.
Fascinated by this, absolutely fascinated by it. Now for something completely different, we'll also be learning how to skip. Can you skip?
I can do single unders, not double unders. Could you do double under?
What the hell is a double under? You sound professional.
She's gonna
a double under. Is that double? Is that
no,
the two?
Double under is just with one jump. It goes around twice. 2 revolutions with a single jump. Come on.
I'm sorry, you're making it up that you know about this.
Someone
read the notes.
Here. Anyway.
At 9:35, legendary jockey Nina Carberry will be paying us a visit a little bit later on.
Alan and Edward are in the kitchen, probably up to no good.
We're always up to no good. Muireann, show us your boots.
Why?
Show us your boots. So Muireann's doing skipping. Yeah. And that's what she's wearing. She's wearing a skirt and boots. And we did mention at the meeting yesterday, Muireann, we're doing skipping.
Bring runners.
Wear trousers and runners.
Do you know what takes it? It also takes me about 5 minutes to get these off, so there's no way I'll be able to get them off.
Now, 2 words beginning with E in the kitchen this morning. What are they?
Edward and Easter.
There you go. Look at this.
What better combination could you have? Yeah.
We're here till 10 o'clock.
Absolutely, and so am I. Yeah, so we're going to create some lovely Easter fare, I suppose. The leg of lamb is something that's very traditional, so I'm going to use some lovely yoghurt to make a beautiful marinade on a butterflied leg of lamb. So just creating an alternative with some coriander and some mint and some ground cumin. So traditional Easter with a twist, a la Edward.
Your Clonakilty yoghurt?
Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
I have some lovely Irish yoghurt from Clonakilty, and I'm going to make a lovely marinade for your Easter leg of lamb.
Right, OK, looking forward to that. Now, Deric is taking to the stage at the Bord Gáis Energy Theatre, where he's going to be, well, he's always in the spotlight, aren't you, Deric?
We try our best, Al. Anyway, welcome here behind the scenes at the Bord Gáis Energy Theatre. We're up on stage here at the moment with some of the cast and crew of Aladdin. It's a brand new musical that's just landed in here until the middle of April. We've got Neil White with us now, the company manager. Good morning to you, Neil. And Neil, it takes a village to get a show like this up and running, right?
Yeah, it's an incredible amount of people. We have 135 people working on the show every night, but it's probably taken over 500 people to get the show to where it is today.
So many costumes, so many props.
Oh, ridiculous amount of costumes. We've got like 120 costumes, about 760 different props. There's things like 34 carpets, one with magical powers, 37 different types of swords, even like 40 different types of fruit and veg on the set. So,
speaking of props, this is one of the most famous props, right?
The magic lamp. Yeah.
We'll give it a little rub, right?
Little rub. This is actually chromed the same way as C-3PO in the Star Wars film, so it's pretty iconic.
Yeah, over there we've got Jafar's stick as well.
Yeah. So when you think of Jafar, the villain of the piece, you always think of his cobra stick and that pure evil coming through it.
And finally, you've got a little prop in your purse. What have you got there?
Oh, put that down. Yeah, something that might help you with your job. A little bit of a crystal ball.
There you go. Every forecaster needs a crystal ball. We'll have lots more here behind the scenes at the Bord Gáis Energy Theatre. But for now, show us your boots, Muireann. You want to see Muireann's boots?
Yeah, show us your boots.
Show us your boots, Muireann.
I think we're done with showing you have started something. Thank you so much, Deric. We'll talk to you a little bit later on. It's time now to take a look at this morning's papers. We'll start with the Examiner, the headline there. Deaths on roads may exceed 200 this year. The government has said that at least 40 more people could die on the roads in 2024 than 2023. And Road Safety Minister Jack Chambers, he has warned that more than 200 people could be killed in crashes this year.
The Independent leads with string of tech firms snub Foley meeting on child online safety. Several social media and tech companies snubbed a meeting with Education Minister Norma Foley last month about keeping children safe online.
The Star leads with mums, two angels, Una Bowden and children Ciara and Saoirse. They were named. They died in the accident on the N17 on Tuesday.
The Mirror also goes with loving smiles together forever. The mum and two daughters killed in a horror crash were named last night as their heartbroken father made his way home from abroad. The husband of Una Bowden had been working in Ethiopia when the accident happened.
The Sun also leads with dad's crash agony as family all killed.
The Herald goes with she's getting butchered on them stairs. Two men are accused of taking part in a premeditated attack on a woman who was left with serious injuries after she was repeatedly stabbed in a Dublin flats complex.
And we're moving on to the Irish Times for something completely different, and we were talking about it a little bit earlier on. Motorists set to face congestion or clean air zone charges. Motorists face potential congestion charges or paying for the cost of clean air zones in cities and towns by 2030 under a radical government strategy aimed at reducing traffic gridlock and greenhouse gases.
And finally, higher taxes for bigger cars. Large vehicles such as SUVs will be hit with higher taxes under these new proposals from Transport Minister Eamon Ryan that aims to reduce private car use. That is the top story in the Daily Mail.
They've looked at bigger cars in other countries, like they're charged through the roof in Australia, isn't it?
They are. The problem here is if they implement it on heavier cars, they'd take EV. EVs are much heavier than a petrol or a diesel car, and then they'd end up taxing EVs.
Right, which is, and they want everyone into EVs.
You want them in them,
Whoops-a-daisy.
And text coming in as well on the back of the story there with Norma Foley, and that the tech firms just didn't bother showing up, or when they did show up, they were like going, yeah, we don't really want to change anything.
They didn't want to do, they weren't committed to age verification.
And Porrick said, yes, this is disgraceful that tech companies get away with this. And he also went on to say, just as disgraceful as parents giving their young children smartphones to access and use these platforms in the first place. Yeah, there you go, Porrick.
To be fair, we've talked before, and Norma Foley has tried to get parents on board with not giving children smartphones in primary school up until the age of 13.
That was another thing that came up in that meeting. She asked those companies, including Tesco were at it, they sell smartphones to engage with a ban on selling them to children under a certain age. Something else they all said no to.
They said no to.
Well, children under a certain age are not buying them. It's the parents who are buying them.
That's a fair point. That is a fair point.
Do you know what I mean? Like, there's things going on here with, like, acids on skins. They're trying to ban children buying those now. But arguably, a phone is one of the most dangerous things that a child has.
Yeah,
right?
but more and more schools now. That's where you find the solution.
Do you feel pressure?
Well, my kids are 7 and 9, so we're not at that stage yet.
Are you not?
But no, there's 9-year-olds who are going around with phones.
There are, but not down the country. It's a simpler life. Simpler life.
Not down in Kilkenny. They don't be using the phones.
He's speaking for everyone outside the M50.
Yeah.
Oh, wait,
Still be on the Nokia 3210.
Suzanne says global corporations are not going to protect children. We need to take ownership of it and introduce digital literacy skills as a core module in school and implement it through their subjects. Again, we place an awful lot of this on teachers.
Yeah.
You still have to parent, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, it has to.
True.
Again, we know the parents are under severe pressure as well.
And we were also getting texts in earlier on about, you were talking about breakups, and there was a brilliant picture.
If we have the picture.
Of a man who actually took a loo. He took somebody's loo.
Took his ex-girlfriend's
loo out of the house. And what's that? Go on, read it there, Ciara. Doc.
Doc says, when my girlfriend broke off our engagement, I wanted the ring back. She refused, so I called her Frodo, like from Lord of the Rings. She found this so funny. She gave me the ring back in the end. Success. Success for Doc.
Anyway. You're like Frodo.
096 111 111 to get in contact with us.
We're going to be speaking to two women who have pursued the caring profession of embalming.
I'll touch you shortly on Ireland AM. Welcome back to Ireland AM. Now, if there is one thing that we do well, it's throwing a funeral and a wake, to be honest. And today we're talking about Ireland's about a team of embalmers who work hard to make the transition from life to death that much easier.
Here to tell us about their work are two members of that team, Marion Power and Claudie Mahoney. You're both very, very welcome.
Good
Thanks for
morning.
being in.
Good
I
morning.
guess what's unique about the team is it is an all-female team. So,
Yes.
Marion, tell us a little bit about that and maybe about how you ended up an embalmer.
Well, for me, it all started in 2009. My younger sister, Adrian, was diagnosed with cancer back in 2006. And we knew she was going to die. So the week before she passed away, we had a conversation in the bedroom. And she says to me, "Oh my God, I'm going to pass away now." And her biggest fear was going to the funeral home. And she felt very vulnerable with all, like it's very male-dominated industry. And she said to me, "Why didn't you learn to be an embalmer? Why didn't you go and learn to, you know?" Because it's something I was very interested in. Going back in the day, my parents had always spoke to me about years ago how they used to put the pennies on the eyes and all the women would look after the deceased. So I was kind of intrigued with all that. But so yeah, that's how I got into it.
Your sister,
my sister passed away.
Your
yeah.
sister, I'm so sorry for your loss, because it's never easy.
No.
But you decided after your sister passed
So
away
when she
to go, I'm going to go into this.
Yeah, well, that's what motivated. My sister motivated me to go into this industry then, you know,
Wow.
do what I do.
To kind of mind someone.
Yeah, because when the funeral home, I asked the funeral home when they originally came to take Adrian from the family home, could I do her hair and makeup, you know, and things like that. So when she came back, I did her hair and her makeup and her nails, because she's very glamorous. Adrian was so glamorous, you know, so it felt just so lovely to be able to do that. So that's when I said, this is it, this is what I want to do, this is my passion.
And what's the process then, from deciding it's your passion to becoming an embalmer? How do you train or where?
Well, that was very daunting for me as well, because I left school quite young and I had to go back to school and train. I had to do mortuary science. 2 years I trained. So that's basically what
Where did you do that?
I did that in a school in Navan.
In Navan?
Yes.
Mortuary science?
Yes.
Is it busy? Is it a busy course?
Oh, yeah.
Is it?
Absolutely, yeah. Very, very
This
busy.
is
Yeah, and they liked as well for you to have kind of a funeral background. And I didn't have any funeral.
Because it does feel like a family-dominated sort of an industry.
Yeah.
It's sort of, like you work in Fannigan's, it's sort of a family industry when you think about it, right? But that's not... And Claudie, how did you get into it? Because you're a trauma specialist.
Yeah, so I suppose my interest was piqued. I worked in a nursing home for quite a few years prior to studying mortuary science. And unfortunately, death is a regular occurrence when you're in that environment. So being with families when their loved one passes away and you're witnessing their pain and their grief firsthand, and in that moment, all you want to do is help them. So there was a particular resident who I was so fond of. You know, he was a gentleman. And he passed away. And the funeral directors had taken him and he was gone. I went into his room and I sat in his bed and I just found myself wondering, you know, who's taking care of him now? I've looked after this person for X amount of years and I wonder who's looking after him now. And I think that was almost like a light bulb moment for me. So it's really a calling. Wouldn't you agree?
Definitely
Yeah,
a calling.
more so than a career choice.
Yeah,
I think if you're called into it, you'll answer the call. You'll know.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a trauma specialist then? I mean, what does that mean in the industry, Claudie? What do you do?
If somebody were to pass away very unexpectedly, very suddenly, so for instance, maybe a car accident or something like that, a violent death, oftentimes the families don't get a chance to actually say goodbye to their loved one. They don't get to view them and start that grieving process.
Okay.
So I think by us being able to provide that service in Fannigan's, it's a wonderful thing to offer to families. It really gives them that closure.
But does that mean you're talking to them, like if you can't have an open casket, is it?
Everything that we do, we would strive to have an open casket, and that's where the specialty would come in.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're very lucky to have that in Fannigan's, aren't we?
Very
I
lucky.
mean, there's not...
Lorraine, one of our colleagues, is terrific in that area as well. So we're really fortunate with the collective of women that we have and our expertise between each other, you know.
And Muireann said, you know, and she was right at the outset, you know, it's something we do well, kind of wakes and deaths and funerals.
Yeah.
How important is that open casket element?
It's massively important. It's a proven fact that actually being able to view your loved one when they pass away will actually start the grieving process. So it's massive for us as embalmers to be able to provide that service. It's just all we want to do is our best for families.
Yes.
That's give them closure, give them that comfort.
Yeah.
This is a highly specialised skill. You know, anyone can say that they've watched 6 Feet Under and they know what. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
Yeah.
Like, did that programme give an insight into what it is? Obviously, there was an awful lot going on beside it.
Do you think of that?
I actually didn't look.
You've never watched it?
I did, but only a couple of years ago. I was late to the party, so
I was late to the party as well. But no.
You're looking at it from different
because it's highly specialised what it is that you do. But then there's the emotional element on top of it. I don't think we're going to get into, you know, what you actually, you know, have to do.
Yeah.
Well, we empower one another, and we're as a team of female embalmers.
Yeah.
We just have each other's back.
We
If
do.
we have
Here
a
you
stressful
are,
day.
work together. We support each other.
there's 4. We have Emma, we have Lorraine, Claudie, and myself.
But a family coming in, I always felt like that death should be harder. And then next thing, Thompson's Funeral Home with my dad, they were amazing. They do everything. You do everything.
Yeah.
And then Dad just looked like himself. And that's so important.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So do you get a sense of the person? Like, it must take an awful lot of you, Marion, emotionally.
Well, as I say, we have each other's, don't we?
Yeah.
If I'm feeling I have Claudie to speak with, or Emma, or Lorraine, and that's, you know, we just have each other.
Yeah.
Are there particular people that stay with you, though?
Yeah.
You know?
You would, you know, and certain things can be, they will stick with you, and especially if you're looking after a child.
A young child and things like that.
They do stick with you. But I suppose we're there to do the best we can for that person, and it really is an honour and a privilege, isn't it, to care for somebody? It's amazing to be able to do that for somebody.
And kind of, I suppose, because I think of it as a family business, like when you think of, you know, Fannigan's, it's a family business.
200 years old business.
200 years, and everyone has their undertakers in their town, like that we all know.
Yeah.
So kind of getting into it, and I suppose being like, you know, you do the makeup and you do the hair and you make, like, that has obviously become incredibly important for people.
Absolutely, and we work off photographs for
do you?
For ladies.
Yeah.
And we do.
And that, what's people's reaction when you decide, I'm going to go into this industry, this is what I'm going to do, and you don't come from the background of it?
Yeah.
What
some
was
people
that like?
would be intrigued.
100%.
Yeah.
So I would, you know, pursue that conversation with them, and then I'd have other people that wouldn't want to know. So I wouldn't go there with that. You know?
I don't know, are there many all-female teams? Are you the only all-female team? I'm sure they're rare if there are others.
I think we're the only all-female team,
Is it something...
And there's great embalmers throughout the whole country.
Oh, absolutely.
Men and women,
But would you encourage more women to get into it?
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. We're more caring, we're more nurturing, we just have a softer touch, I think.
And there's a lot of female funeral arrangers in Fannigan's.
In Fannigan's as well.
Yeah, it's amazing to see.
Yeah. There's a lot.
There is,
It's amazing how much, like, I can just tell how much you care, because you're kind of, you're ushering a family through this.
Yeah.
Kind of, is it something that, how many people are doing these courses?
Very difficult to say, isn't it? It varies, and you know, a lot of people, if they come from a funeral home background, it's nearly like a natural progression for them to pursue this line of work. But you know, unless you come from a family business, it's very difficult. It's not an easy.
I found it very hard because I wasn't from the funeral industry.
Yeah.
I really did. I had to ring my school 10 weeks every morning. Would you train me? No. Would you train me? No. Until eventually I broke them down,
to get in.
Please, this is what I want to do,
It's fascinating what you do, and it's amazing what you do. Thank you so much for joining us. It's Marion Power, embalming manager at Fannigan's, and Claudie Mahoney, embalmer and trauma specialist at Fannigan's. Pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Now, you are welcome back. If you are looking for a showstopper to cook this Easter Sunday, we've got you covered in the kitchen this morning.
We certainly have, because Edward Hayden is here with a lovely leg of lamb. Oh, I love this now.
Yeah,
this
listen,
is my favourite.
It is absolutely gorgeous. And I was saying to you earlier on that, you know, leg of lamb is one of those kind of quintessential Easter musts. So what I'm doing this morning is just doing a slight alternative on it. So people can either do this in the oven, or maybe it's a little bit early, a little bit premature, but if you have kind of scraped all the dust off the barbecue, you could kind of do this on the barbecue as well. So it's a butterflied leg of lamb. Well, you could.
No,
you mightn't do it,
not
but
for
you
this
could.
Weekend. The weather's crap.
No, that's what I'm saying. You could.
You could do it under an umbrella.
Yeah. Send us the picture. Now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a lovely leg of lamb, but you can do this with shoulder of lamb as well. Of course, shoulder of lamb has a very really rich flavour as well, because obviously there's quite a nice amount of fat. I like both, really.
Yeah.
I've done the leg of lamb this morning, but I like both, to be honest with you. I'm going to make a marinade first and foremostly. So what I've got here is I've got some ground cumin and I've got some ground coriander. I'm just going to put in some garlic here. So I've just got some pieces of garlic that I'm just very roughly going to slice in there as well. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just use a mixture of herbs. So what I've got is I've got some lovely fresh mint, and of course mint is really nice with mint is really nice with lamb. And again, because mint is a nice soft herb, you can just literally tear it in at the last minute, which is what I'm doing.
Can I ask you, what is the thing with mint and lamb? Where did that come from? That like a mint sauce with lamb? Who decided that that was good?
Of course, one of the forefathers of cuisine, Augustus Goffier, would have developed a lot of these.
Of course he did. I'm glad
he thought I wouldn't know the answer.
I'm glad I asked that one.
But again, it does work really nicely. I've got some coriander. Now, coriander is that marmite of herbs, isn't it? You either like it or you don't like it. But it works really well with this. Then what I've got is I've got some of the Irish yoghurt Clonakilty. I'm using some of the whole milk natural live yoghurt here. So I'm just going to pop that in. And again, of course, what yoghurt does, it works really advantageously as a kind of a tenderizer for meat as well. So that works really nicely. But again, whilst I'm using it with lamb today, you could use this same marinade with like pork chops, or you could use it with chicken breasts or chicken legs or thighs as well. It works really nicely. Or even like the rack of lamb, the shoulder of lamb, or little lamb cutlets. You know, if you just want the little lamb cutlets would be gorgeous as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little reprieve here and strain off some lovely vegetables, because I've done the works for you this morning. I've got all the bits and pieces. Going to have a full feast.
Full Easter Sunday lunch.
A full feast here. So strain off that, and that's done there. So then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use some lamb. Now, I have a full leg of lamb in the oven here for you that I got from my butcher. And again, of course, what I got the butcher to do is...
Who's your butcher?
We have a lovely butcher in Burris. We don't have a butcher in Graignaman at the minute. So I went over to Burris to Charlie Nolan Butchers.
Charlie Nolan.
They're fantastic
Charlie.
over there.
Everybody know Charlie?
Everybody. Yeah, they're fantastic.
My in-laws butcher.
Oh, really?
That's your in-laws butcher, Charlie.
Yeah, they're absolutely fantastic, and they mind you like an egg over there. So what I've got is I've got the leg of lamb, which we have. They've butterflied it for me. So when I say I've done it, they've butterflied it for me, which is just taking out the bone. This is just a half leg, just to demonstrate to you. They've taken out the bone for me, and that just works really nicely. Pop that in. I've just popped on the gloves there, and just give it a good old rub around just to make sure that it's soaked in the marinade. And then give that a couple of hours, is what I would say to you. A couple of hours. You could leave it overnight if you want it, and it works really, really nicely.
It soaks right into it.
It does, but as I said, it acts as a kind of a tenderizer. I have this at a nice, good high heat as well. So what this will do is it'll give you a lovely crust. So obviously when this cooks, the yoghurt will get a lovely kind of a crust. So you don't
sear it or anything first?
No, exactly, yeah, 100%. Now, what I've brought just to show you and tell the people at home, but just with the fire alarms here, I didn't put it on. I have a really nice char grill pan here. If you heated that scalding hot, once the meat has been marinated, just kind of scald it on both sides with the char grill pan.
Go on, do it.
Yeah, my gig would be over.
We'd knock off early.
Yeah.
Pop
Pop it on there and then turn it on both sides, put it onto a baking tray and stick that into the oven. Now, you'd want to be giving it about 190 for about an hour and a half is what I've got in there.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
because
because I've taken the bone out of it, yeah. So if I can just show you, I've got this lovely...
If you didn't get to a butcher who would do that for you and you had the full leg with the bone...
You'd want to leave it a little bit longer.
Yeah.
You would just want to leave it a little bit longer. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop these in here. Again, as you know, when you're tired listening to me, I love the whole family-style dining.
Yeah.
So what I've got here is I've got the lovely roasted carrot and parsnip. I've got some lovely broccoli and peas, and I've got some lovely crunchy roasted potatoes here for you as well.
And
then I've got the leg of lamb. When we have the fellow...
You've got a good week on the cooking
the fellow Kilkenny man, we have to look after him, you know.
Really look after me.
We're scarce up here. Now, so what I've got is I've just got my lovely platter here. Now, you can see if I was bringing that to the table, just like so, I'd pop it on. I've got some lovely bay leaves there. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to slice some of that for you.
Do you know when you take meat out of the oven like that? Should you leave it for... A lot of people say leave it for about half an hour.
Ideally.
Do you do that?
Yeah,
Why
ideally.
is that?
It just leaves it rest, and it's just kind of less stressed when it comes out of the oven. Now, I've got a really nice high-end piece of lamb here, so it will be really delicious. And as the fella says, there's only so early I can get here to put it on, if I was to be honest with you. But if I was here, I put that in this morning, just around 7 o'clock, as you saw. But what I might do, if in a normal circumstance, just take it out of the oven.
And so leave it for about half an hour.
Leave it for about half an hour, and that would be absolutely delicious. And then I've got some lovely crunchy roasted potatoes. I'm going to pop some of the lovely red wine and rosemary jus on that for you.
Oh, this is great.
And
this is great. We have to go
I've got
skipping
my
now. That's the only
here.
problem. Can we put skipping till 10:15?
Move the skipping. Move the skipping. And there you have it, just like so. Now, if you didn't want to do it with the traditional veg and potatoes that I've done,
you might decide not want to do it with that.
Well, you might decide to do it with a lovely fruity couscous.
No,
and then put a lovely bit of yoghurt on top of that as well. A little bit of spoon of the yoghurt with some coriander.
Always a star. Always a star.
I'm just going to pop this up here
look at that.
before I go, just so that you can actually see that you could create a full Easter feast.
There you
Bring
go.
it to the middle of the table, chill the wine, and...
Have we got wine as well?
Yeah. Could give you a cup of milk.
Edward, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Up next, the entire body workout that won't cost you the earth. Yeah, we're going to be burned out. We're going to be skipping in a few minutes. See you in a minute.
Somehow I've been roped in. See you back here.
Boom, boom.
Look at him go.
There you go.
Go on,
it's the childhood pastime that's become a celebrity fitness craze. So, the skipping workout after Edward's lamb, I tell you, this will get me going.
Helping us to put a skip in our step, you don't need any help, is our skipping instructor, Mark McCabe. Mark,
good morning to you.
How are you?
How are you? All good.
So, how are you? How did you get involved in this?
Well, when I was doing my own sort of training, I started adding and skipping into my workouts, and I really enjoyed it. So I tried to then find a training course. So I actually went over to England and did a bit of a training course over there, came back, and I thought, oh, schools would love how to do this as well, the children. So we went and I got into my local schools in Navan, where I'm originally from, and we started doing skipping workshops from there.
And that's going around schools, teaching kids how to skip, getting them back into skipping?
Yeah, I've been doing it for the last kind of 13 years now. So
wow.
I've done over 1,000 workshops in schools in every county in Ireland.
Wow.
So I'm actually fully booked already till the end of the school year. So it's kind of...
Isn't that brilliant? There's a little niche that you've created, and it's all about fitness. Because, I mean, when you see skipping, it's so cost effective. You get a rope. We all did it when we were growing up. Everybody, like out in the yard or out in your road, and you'd be skipping. But I mean, it has become this sort of celebrity thing. But you do see it, like you in the gym, boxers especially. You always see
Marcus
boxers.
Rashford is. If he's injured, anytime he puts up kind of different things that he's doing in the gym, skipping is always one of the things that he adds.
What's so great about skipping?
It's great for your footwork skills. So Obviously, Marcus Rashford wants to have good footwork skills, and boxers, any sort of combat athletes want to have good footwork skills. And if you want to be able to jump higher, it's the most basic form of plyometric training. So it's to produce the power to be able to jump higher, to be able to catch a ball, header a ball, catch a slit or whatever. So there's lots and lots of benefits for all sorts of sports, not just combat sports.
And like we were saying, the training then, like I seen, like we had pictures of the Kardashians and stuff like that there when they're doing their gym work, and it's all about the skipping as well.
It's anything, like anybody can do it at home on their own. It's like everything, when you're learning a new skill, it's gonna take a little bit of time to get better at doing it, but it's a skill that everybody can learn. You just need to maybe do 5-10 minutes out your back garden. All you need is kind of the width of a pat. You don't need a huge amount of space. You could do it indoors. Obviously, just watch for light fittings if you're in the house and stuff like that.
But then it's so cheap to buy a skipping rope then as well.
Exactly. It's cheap, it's affordable. You don't need a big gym membership to last the whole year. One rope will last you a whole year and more.
Show us a few tricks then.
Yeah, show us how we start, like the basics. Oh,
geez. There's just a few skills.
Oh, look at that. Ah, now go on, Alan.
Kieran's favourite double unders.
There's the double under now. He jumped once and
turned the rope twice underneath you. So you go 1, 2, 3, and the rope went underneath me twice and then jumped.
Okay, I'm going to try
that.
Go for it, right. Okay, so 1, 2, 3.
Oh, I did it! I did it under 3 times. All right, okay.
I did it!
Oh no! I can't do it.
Your second turn of the rope has to be faster. There you go.
Okay, so
if you were starting at the basics,
so it's just your basic.
Yeah, you're keeping a nice easy rhythm there, where it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What happens to some people is that they get into a double bounce because their circles in their hands are too big.
All right,
where the two of you
it's
are
all in
keeping
the
your
wrist
hands
action.
in closer to your body, just a smaller little circle, closer to your pockets all the time. Yeah. It's more so in the wrist action, as you said, than making big circles. And you're always nice and light on your toes. You're nice and light on your toes all the time. You're not kind of banging your heels off the ground.
It's a really good cardio workout, isn't it?
It is.
Like, I'm actually going, shitty Mark.
Yeah, well, we just had a lamb dinner.
Yeah,
we just had a lamb dinner. One more. Let's try and do one of your tricks.
This time we're going to do the jumping jacks. So number 1 will be feet together.
Yeah.
And after you jump number 2, so go through the middle and then put your feet out to the side.
Okay.
Number 3, then feet together. After 4, side. 5 together. After 6, side. There you go. Kieran has it straight away. Well done.
See, my brain is not coordinated. I'm literally going, how does that work? So you just go like that, and then you go like that.
There you go,
Oh, my God.
There you go.
So, literally, go on, something else. Show us your tricks again. Show us what you did earlier on, because it's very impressive.
This is one that I'm going to get you to try and do. Okay. So it's called a side swing. A lot of boxers do this when they're doing their training. So they bring the rope over, both hands go down to the same pocket. You make a circle around and up to your shoulder and bring it back out in front of you. Some people try to go over their head, but then you go down to your other pocket, around up to your shoulder, and number 3 is open and jump. So you're going side 1, side 2, 3 is jump. But your hands stay together, 1, stay together.
Side 1, side 2.
Nearly, wait.
Side 1, side 2,
3 is jump.
Jump.
There you go, yeah. So when
we're not that bad at it.
No, we're good.
When you get good, you can start to pick up the speed.
Lads.
We're not there yet. We're not there yet. Mark, well done.
Skipandrope.com if people want to know more.
We have lots of different ropes. We have skipping mats, as you can see. We have beginner bundles where you get a beaded rope and a mat. We have retro boxer ropes that Kieran was using, just kind of normal speed ropes then. We have ropes for kids. We have double Dutch ropes. We have long ropes that you would see kids playing out in the schoolyard.
Ropes then?
Yeah, we have lots of ropes.
Okay, listen, thank you so much for coming in and showing us that. I'm going back to the lamb. Thank you so much. Coming up, our movie man Brian Lloyd is giving us his reviews on the latest films and TV releases.
And Deric is exploring a whole new world at the Bord Gáis Energy Theatre. We'll see you shortly.
In a few minutes.
Hello, welcome back to Ireland AM. Coming up, Brian Lloyd will be here to tell us what to watch this bank holiday weekend. That's coming up at 9:20.
Renowned jockey Nina Carberry is here to tell us why she is saddling up into the world of politics.
There we go.
And from Broadway to the Grand Canal Dock, Deric has been rubbing his lamp all morning and he's now with the cast of Aladdin. How you getting on, Deric?
Well, Al, I'm in a bit of a pickle down here at the Bord Gáis Energy Theatre. As you can see, I'm wrapped up in a rug, a magic carpet, in fact, to tie in with the production of Aladdin. This is one of the main scenes in the show. In fact, boys, a hen, a doe, on is a tree, a hare. Woohoo! The things I have to do to earn a crust on the show. We're rubbing the lamp back to you in studio, Al. There we go, boys. Oh.
This week on Ireland AM, we've teamed up with Very to bring an incredible prize to one lucky viewer. As the proud sponsor of the Very Camogie Leagues, Very is inviting one lucky family to enjoy a day they'll never forget. Win tickets for a family of 4 to the Very Camogie League finals at Croke Park on April 14th. Complete with a luxurious night at the Croke Park Hotel with breakfast and dinner included, plus a €1,500 voucher to splurge at Very. Get ready to enjoy the match in style, with everything you need from fashion, home and more for the family, all available at very.ie. For your chance to experience the Very Camogie League's finals like never before, just answer this question. In what month is Easter Sunday celebrated this year? A. March or B. April? To enter, call 1550 999 333 or text WIN to 57199. Best of luck.
Good luck with that. Now, we were talking earlier on about proposed congestion charges. Oh, look. Oh, he's rolling the eyes.
No, but this is Eamon Ryan wants to bring this in. And, like, it's for the good of the country. It's good for everyone. But, I mean, look, we were talking about this earlier on about congestion charges into cities and, like, increasing... You need a good public transport system in this country before you can start introducing anything like that. And we just don't have it. We don't have it.
But the other thing that's in that plan as well are road usage charges. So your tax will be based on how much you drive.
Yeah.
So again, somebody living down the country, they don't have a public transport link. They can't live in Dublin because they can't afford the housing in Dublin. They've got to commute. They're going to be punished now because they have to commute, and then punished when they get there because there's not a bus or a train.
And to get into certain parts of Dublin, you pay a charge then to go in there and all that. It's just nuts. Until we sort all the transport system out, you can't introduce these type of things. It's just, well, anyway.
As Joe says, on the transport issue, getting people out of cars only works when there is a reliable alternative.
Yes.
And I think that's what an awful lot of people are speaking to this morning, going, I'd love not to bring my car, because it's stressful.
It's stressful.
You get stressed in the car.
Sitting in your car.
Wouldn't you love to be sitting on a train going to work?
But Anna says, I use public transport to go into Dublin, packed every day, much better than using cars, which is great, right? It suits Anna. But that line, packed every day, that's the other point. If we did what they wanted, tomorrow morning, we all got out of our cars and tried to go on public transport, we wouldn't fit.
No.
Yeah.
Like at the moment already, you were talking about it earlier, the bus is full driving past you.
Driving past you, and 2 and 3 driving past you.
So if
and that's if it arrives at all. And I was listening to someone on the radio yesterday.
He's on the bus all the time. Can you tell? Like Alan's just standing at a bus stop. He's just
constantly.
flagging down the bus. He's wrecked from saying thank you to bus drivers.
I know the busmen personally going to
Malahide.
Do you? Yeah. I know Johnny is always Johnny's always on the morning shift.
He's just so relatable, isn't he? He's just so relatable. It's amazing.
Good morning, Johnny.
Good morning. He won't be watching. He's on the bus.
He's on the bus.
Johnny.
That's it. Good old Johnny. That's it.
But we were listening to somebody yesterday on the radio who was saying, will I bother? No, I won't. OK. Grand. Brian Lloyd is up next with some movie recommendations for the long weekend.
Brian got the bus here this morning. We'll talk to you shortly on Ireland AM. Welcome back now from swashbuckling stories. Oh my God, he's on one this morning. To animated action. There's something for everyone in this week's movie and telly slot.
It certainly is, and here with his top picks and his review is Brian Lloyd. Good morning to you, Brian.
Good morning.
We're going to start with Renegade Nell. Tell us about this.
Yeah, so this is a new series on Disney+. It's based on an original idea. Louise Harland, who people would know from Dairy Girls.
Yeah.
She plays this soldier in 17th century London who is framed for the murder of a local aristocrat. She then has to go on the run. But what also is happening as well is that whenever she gets kind of threatened or whatever, this fairy, who's played by Nick Mohammed, imbues her with like superpowers.
Nick Mohammed from Ted Lasso.
From Ted Lasso, yeah.
Okay.
He's in it. He plays this fairy that like gives her like superpowers, and then she's able to beat the crap out of everyone.
Okay.
Do you remember shows like The Girl from Tomorrow?
Yes.
And like Spellbinder? It's kind of like that vibe. Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, so it's like for, you know, when you got home from school and you sat down and there was a show for you.
Exactly.
Oh, they're bringing
it back. That's what this
Never
is.
heard of those two
After-school
shows, but let's have a look at this.
Do you know what I think? I think you're Nellie Jackson.
You don't want to mess with me? Don't call me Nellie. I am on the run for murder.
She shot him!
I didn't, it was him!
No one's going to believe someone like me against the powerful.
Shouldn't you tie us up?
Oh, I've not got any rope. You're going to have to pretend.
Now, that's very violent after school.
But like, you go back and watch those shows, like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Yeah, Buffy was like literally her running around stabbing people and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like,
I suppose.
So, like, I mean, it is very much kind of aimed at that kind of demographic and that kind of idea. Yeah, a big, like, rollicking action adventure, swashbuckler. It's great. And, like, she's brilliant in it as well. And she really does, like literally beat the crap out of people, throw them all around the place and stuff like that. And she is like very much a dab hand at it. Like, I mean, obviously we know her from Dairy Girls, and
she wasn't even one of the main stars in Dairy Girls,
Exactly.
really. When you see that she's holding this whole series together.
Exactly, that's it. Yeah, like I mean, there is an ensemble cast. Like you, Frank Delan, as you said, you saw there. Nick Mohammed is in there as well. Pip Torrens is in there from The Crown. So like there is a bit of an ensemble cast, but it is pretty much her leading it. Like, and she's great. Like she really does hold it. Yeah.
She sounds fantastic because obviously
the accent
she's from
is so
Dublin.
flawless. Yeah,
she's from Dublin. She did the Derry accent obviously in Dairy Girls, and this is a great English
and she has it. Like I mean, I interviewed her for it. Like, and she was saying that like she always had that kind of Tottenham London accent kind of in the back pocket already, and she was delighted to use it and stuff like that. And it sounds like you wouldn't, if you didn't know.
No, exactly.
You'd think it was spot on. Yeah.
It's amazing what that cast have gone on to do,
isn't it?
Isn't it? Like when you think about Siobhan McSweeney, Nicola Coughlan, Saoirse, like all of them, Jamie Lynn. It's been fantastic.
It is, yeah, and like I think it's great as well the fact that like they're able to kind of showcase their versatility, like because obviously, as you say, Siobhan McSweeney is doing all kinds of stuff, doing theatre as well, and Louisa Harland is doing this. Couldn't be more different from Dairy Girls, and she's leading.
Couldn't be more different,
and she's leading it as well. So
great stuff.
So what are you giving this?
Like 3.5 out of 5. Like, and I'd say the one that kind of give me a little bit of pause is that I think it's a bit more ambitious, as in they're going for like really kind of big set pieces and stuff like that. And I don't necessarily know if they kind of got there. I don't know if the budget was there. But if it got its second season, they should give it more money.
More money.
Yeah, more money and make it a bit more kind of.
So is it for teenagers, adults?
I think adults
anyone
can enjoy it. Anyone can enjoy it. Yeah, but like you watch it. When I was watching it, was like this is like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. This is like those shows that I used to love when I was a kid.
So people like that will love this.
Yeah.
And it starts on Disney Plus tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah, that's right.
Cool. Okay. Kung Fu Panda 4.
Yeah. So what's going on in this is Jack Black, who voices Po. He is now the Dragon Warrior, but he's coming to a point where he's going to be replaced and has to find a successor. All while that's happening, this evil sorcerer called the Chameleon arrives on the scene. She's able to take the form of previous villains from the whole series. He has to go off and fight her, and while fighting her, then needs to find his own successor. That comes in the form of a fox who is voiced by Awkwafina. And Alan Hughes, I can just see the light leaving your eyes.
Well, let's have a look.
Tai Lung, big fan. Once I possess the kung fu of every master villain, no one will dare question my power.
Not even the great Dragon Warrior.
Who's that?
The most powerful shape-shifting sorceress, the Chameleon.
How do I find the Chameleon?
I'm gonna lead you right to her front door.
It was against an army.
There you go.
This is the fourth one. These movies are incredibly popular.
Yeah.
Do you have to have seen the other three?
No.
No, of course you don't.
Not at all. No, of course not. I
But
mean,
there's snow on the McGillicuddy Reeks. It's not going to be the best weekend.
no, it's perfect cinema weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's exactly the kind of film that's made for a bank holiday weekend. It's 90 minutes long. You don't need to have seen...
I love that, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And, like, you don't need to have seen the first ones or whatever to kind of get it. Like,
so it has its own story.
Exactly, yeah, it has its own story and stuff like that. And, like, it's, you know, you're not really watching it for the story. You're watching it for the funny jokes and for the action set pieces and stuff like that. And it's done very well. And they have a great cast. Like Viola Davis, you heard there. She plays the villain in it.
Dustin Hoffman.
Dustin Hoffman is in there
Jack
as well.
Black is back, obviously.
Well.
Is Angelina back?
No, they didn't get Angelina or the rest of them. I'd say probably because it was getting a bit too expensive, I'd say.
I imagine so.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's a big cast. Like,
yeah.
But it's not the lesser for their absence, like, you know, that's the way. Like,
the thing about this, I always find that some movies, like the script can be terrible.
Yeah.
I always find in these it can be quite funny. Some of the stuff is quite funny.
Definitely, yeah, no, they do try to kind of make it, I suppose, broadly accessible, you know, that sort of way.
That is in the cinema on Friday.
Yeah.
What are you giving?
3 out of 5.
3 out of 5.
Okay.
Lovely animated movie. Good to go. We're going to go back to television now, and this is on Apple TV, and it's called Palm Royale. What's this about?
It looks fabulous.
It does, yeah. So if you're into your fashion, you'd love this, and you as well, Alan. Like,
I've seen the trailers, and it looks amazing.
It's really glossy, yeah. So it's set in 1969 in Palm Beach in Florida, which was basically like this playground of the rich and famous. Kristen Wiig is this outsider who comes into the community and basically is a social climber. She's trying to get in with like all the hoi polloi and all the rest of it. So you have Alison Janney plays like the kind of the queen bee of it. Leslie Bibb is in there as well. Carol Burnett.
Carol Burnett, she's 82 or something, isn't she? And
yeah,
she's in Lunch.
and she's in this. Yeah, she plays her aunt, who is like this, like really kind of like
Carol Burnett, Miss Hannigan.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
She's in it. She's 82.
Fabulous.
Yeah,
she's in it. Yeah,
and Ricky Martin's in
Ricky Martin is in it as well. Yeah, he plays like the pool boy
Yeah.
in Carol Burnett's Big Huge Mansion.
Okay,
No, Ricky Martin, the pool boy.
And he's shirtless for like 90%.
Every scene I've seen of Ricky Martin.
Out Alan Hughes.
Every scene I've seen is Ricky Martin without his shirt off in Carol Burnett's mansion.
I wonder if Alan will be getting Apple TV for this. Let's take a look at Palm Royale.
How did you get past security?
I came in the back.
There are no doors on the back of the Palm Royale?
I never said I used the door. I had only been in Palm Beach 2 weeks.
We don't know you.
I'm Maxine Delcourt. But I already knew the Palm Royale, the most exclusive club in the world, was where I belonged.
Evelyn, you are the woman to know in Palm Beach.
I don't like you, Maxine.
I love her. I would watch Alison Janney do anything. But I have watched an episode of this and I didn't enjoy it.
No, I get that. I totally get that. Like I've gotten through like 4 episodes of it now, and it's a slog. It is a slog.
Is it? Is it not just a bit of sit there, a glass of wine, and a bit of fluff
could.
to watch?
That's it. Yeah, you could watch it.
I'm not criticising it.
Exactly. You could watch it very, very passively. Like I mean. The reality of it is when you'll see something like that, automatically your mind goes to Mad Men, it goes to Catch Me If You Can, it goes to Stepford Wives and stuff like that. But
where you want a bit of tension or something happening.
Yeah. This is the problem I had with it, is that it's funny, but it's never funny enough. It's sexy, but it's never sexy enough.
All right.
So it's kind of just very kind of surface level. Pity, because it got a great cast and it's a great idea, but it's
massive cast.
Massive cast,
but
huge. It's just... They're squandered, like, you know, that sort of way. Like, and Carol Burnett only kind of comes into it in, like, the 3rd episode. And even at that, she doesn't really have much going on, so...
And it's kind of, you're waiting for Kristen Wiig to have something.
Exactly.
She can carry anything.
Yeah.
And it's just not funny enough for her.
That's it. And I think as well, like, the character that she's playing... First off, you kind of think she's this social climber that she'll basically... It's kind of like To Die For, you know, that she'll, like, would literally kill to get ahead and stuff like that. But then the character is made a bit more sympathetic. It never really goes far enough in order for it to be worth your time.
Kaya Gerber is in it, who is the model, daughter of Cindy Crawford, who made her acting debut in Runaway, I think it was, with Alec Baldwin.
Yep.
Or one of the Baldwin brothers. Is she any good?
She's good, yeah. She's all right in it.
How many stars?
2.5.
2.5.
3.
Well, I don't have Apple TV, so I won't be watching it anyway.
There you go. You're not getting it.
Yeah, there you go.
You could just sit down and watch Countdown, lads, to be honest.
Yeah.
Countdown.
Or Law and
I
Order.
love a bit of Countdown every day.
Actually, do you know what as well? Law and Order SVU is on Netflix. I've been watching that. Like, listen,
My favourite.
Mariska Hargitay.
My favourite.
Benson.
Well, I tell you.
As always, Brian Lloyd, happy long weekend. Thank you for talking to us
Happy
today.
Easter.
So
we
good.
haven't been wishing people Happy Easter. Why is that?
Is that a thing you do?
Is it?
No, I don't know.
Do we wish people Happy Easter?
Christmas you would, but...
Yeah.
On the way on Ireland AM, former Jockey and Dancing with the Stars champion Nina Carberry will be joining us.
We'll be back after this short break.
Did you say hi? Welcome back. Now, our next guest is one of Ireland's most successful jockeys and since putting down the reins, she's written books, been a coach in Ireland's fittest families, and she's hoisted the Glitter Ball trophy.
No less.
Overachiever.
Here to talk about her next venture into the world of politics is Nina Carberry. Nina, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Karen. How are you?
Good morning.
Thank you.
So, the obvious question first, why? Why do you want to become an MEP?
I've always been interested in politics from a very young age. Between racing, there was always the 1 o'clock news, 6 o'clock news, 9 o'clock news. So current affairs were always on at home. But for me, I think I'm a type of person that doesn't want to look on beyond the couch and look at the news and give an out about it. I feel that I want to have a say. And I suppose my 2 young girls, looking at them, looking at their future and what future holds for them, like every mum, we worry. And yeah, I want to have a say.
I suppose when I saw you, like I was watching the telly and then next thing, you're there standing, you know, and I was like, what's Nina doing with all these Fine Gael politicians? What's going on here? Because, like, have you been involved in it at a council? Like, have you been involved in the coming, or was it like, OK, Fine Gael's the party for me? How did that come about?
No, I have friends in Fine Gael and we do chat but as I said, like with my 2 little girls, it was something that I was wanting to get into, but this opportunity arose and I took it with both hands and I'm really looking forward to the campaign ahead.
And why this campaign? Because there's going to be a general election, right, say within 10 months anyway, 11 months at the absolute latest. There's local elections, so you could cut your teeth at council level. Like, why Europe? What is it about Europe that makes you want to go there?
I think it's an amazing place. It's where we can get the big things done. It's very attractive to me and I'm really looking forward to... And the constituency is massive as well, and that's what I really look... I've been travelling the constituency for so many years, being a jockey and seeing all the rural parts of Ireland, and that's what interests me. And yeah, bringing their issues to Europe is really
some constituency.
Massive.
Castledermot to Killybegs, we were talking about it before.
So it's Midlands Northwest.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Right?
It runs from Offaly the whole way back up to, as you say, Killybegs, so it's huge.
And in an area like that, you're obviously hitting so many different issues. And like we're talking about housing, you know, people can't afford to live in their own counties anymore because you've got people from the outside coming in and pushing up prices. Farming, rural issues, roads, we've been talking about transport. Like, are these the issues that you're ready to speak to, that you're ready to walk into the European Parliament and talk about?
Yeah, like my priorities is definitely, as you said, a lot of them, but opportunities for young people as well. I'd love to introduce a cross-European apprenticeship scheme, which would give the people, like young people that don't want to do the 3rd level route, that it gives them a chance to go abroad and bring the skills and ideas home. So that's what I'm really interested in. And as you said, farming is massive. I've come from a farming family myself. My dad always had cattle, and the paperwork from 25 years ago is a lot different to now, and the burden that's on the farming families. I heard a woman the other day talking on the radio, and she was nearly brought to tears talking about the paperwork that she had to do, and it's basically keeping her in the office and she's not able to do what she loves. So that really struck a chord with me. That'd be something that I'd love to try and prioritise. But I think the main thing is not my priorities, it's the priorities of the constituency, that it's so vast, and to bring in their issues to Europe, that was what I really want to do and get out and campaign about.
Are there 2 Fine Gael seats in the constituency? So Maria Walsh will be running. I mean, in all likelihood, it's one of you or the other, isn't it?
Well, hopefully she's done a brilliant job the last 5 years. She's going to be really fighting for that seat as well. But
you want people to vote for you instead of her.
I'm going to be trying my best. But listen, I'm going to be doing my own thing, keeping... obviously, I've the East Coast as well. So, yeah, I'm going to be doing my best. But yeah, just get out there and meet people.
And would people, because I suppose you've got like Sean Kelly, who was former president of the GAA, he's an MEP. We've got Maria Walsh, who's known as being Rosa Tralee. You know, you're known as being a jockey and, you know, doing the dancing and everything. Is it kind of... Do you think European politics is easier because people aren't knocking on your door as much? They're not like, it's not like being at the local council about the pothole, about their local hospital. Like, do you think it's an easier route?
I don't think it's easier. I think it's the next 2 months are going to be very hard and going to be campaigning every day. As I said, that the constituency is massive, so I have to get to a lot of parts. But I really look forward to going to the higher level in Europe and really, you know, fighting for the constituency issues and concerns.
Listen, I would say this always, that anybody, regardless of party, who throws their hat in the ring are to be commended. Because, you know, look, it's easy to talk from the sidelines, what I do every day. At the same time, are you prepared for... like the toxicity and the hate? Oh no, Pascal Dunn, who I was speaking to him yesterday, there was a story in the papers yesterday that the Gardaí had to take seriously kind of a credible threat made to his safety previously. I mean, this is... I don't want to over-egg it, you know what I mean? They are a minority, but this is the reality. The world you're wading into.
You're dead right. As a jockey, we have to deal with that from a very young age as well. Like, a lot of people have, they lose money on you and they're not happy, so they definitely say it on Twitter or whatever. But I think
would they ever confront you?
Yeah, well, they would, yeah, as well. But there'd be a lot of, on Twitter, you get abuse, so you do have to turn a blind eye to that. And I think you build up the resilience to that as well. And I have that resilience behind me going into this. But it is something that you have to be wary of and know that it happens.
I kind of never thought about that until, I suppose, the two jockeys this week, Sam Ewing and is it Jack Kennedy, who were attacked in Naas as a result of what happened in Cheltenham. I'd never thought of that aspect of people losing money on and blaming you. And that's a thing that you definitely faced.
Well, definitely. The whole way along, that's what jockeys, they are criticised a lot, you know, from their rides, and very similar to politicians, they're criticised a lot every day. But it's something that definitely, I know the guards are involved now, but I'm delighted to see them back riding at the weekend and riding winners. But that's what you have to do. You just keep going forward and moving forward.
Can you do Ireland's Fittest Family and be an MEP?
I don't think so, that is ripping my heart out. To be part of that show was amazing. I loved every minute of that.
And with her there, she's like, you better vote me in now, can't you?
You can't lose 2 jobs in a week.
You can't. How did you feel last week? Like the rest of us, you know, I was in the car and next thing, you know, you're listening to Leo going, "How are you lads, I'm out the gap." How did you feel about that when you're like, well, I kind of want your support in doing this? It's not the best time. Yeah,
I was very surprised as much as anybody was. It was a courageous move. I respect him for it. But we all have to look to the future. And Simon Harris is the future of Fine Gael. And what he brought to the convention, I felt the other day, was energy and enthusiasm. And I felt that as well. So I'm looking forward to what he brings to the table and looking forward to working underneath him.
Are you in the WhatsApp group?
Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet. Not yet.
We haven't been elected yet.
Who's the administrator of the WhatsApp group? That's what I want to know. I don't know.
Pascal would be a good one, wouldn't he?
Oh, yeah. Someone who'd rule with an iron fist. That's what you need.
That's him. Nina Carberry, thank you so much for joining us.
For having me.
Thanks a million. Cheers.
Now, coming up next, Deric is rubbing his magic lamp.
Talk to you in a minute. You've got to stop saying that. That's Alan's fault.
Now, you are very welcome back. Time to head over to Dublin's very own corner of Agrabah.
Indeed. Deric has been at the Bord Gáis Energy Theatre all morning with the cast and crew of Aladdin.
Yes, and we didn't have a magic lamp. Now, you know I like me cup of tea, so I was going to give me kettle a rub instead. Deric, it's over to you.
Give it a good rub, lads. Absolutely. Welcome back down here behind the scenes. We are threading the boards, having a great time here at the Bord Gáis Energy Theatre. Disney's Aladdin has landed in here until the 14th of April. We're joined now by 2 of the principal characters. We have got Jockey and Desmunda, a.k.a.
the Genie.
And
Princess Jasmine.
Princess Jasmine. Give it a stop here this morning. Jockey, we're going to start with you because you started acting from a very young age.
So when I was younger, when I was about in year 9, which which is about the age of 13, I saw my first musical theatre show and I sat there and I got really, really passionately jealous. It was Blood Brothers. And I was like, why am I so jealous? And as I was watching the show, I was like, oh, it's because I want to be up there. And so like after that, I started taking the steps to start working in musical theatre, but I didn't start until I was about maybe 22, when I started performing in this country, in the UK, in Avenue Q, the tour, which actually took me to this theatre for the first time.
For the first time ever. Now, this, as you mentioned, is your third time here in the country, right?
It's my fourth time,
your
I think.
fourth time here.
Yeah.
How did you get the role of Aladdin? How did you land the gig?
Oh, but getting the role of Genie, so I'd auditioned for the show in the West End, and unfortunately it didn't land when it first started in the West End, but now here I am doing the Genie, right? So, you know, it can't be all that bad. However, this time, auditioned 3 times, kept getting calls back. I just finished working as Simba in The Lion King, so I'd just gone from one Disney show going into another. When I got the call, I was like, oh my gosh, I get to play with the same material that Robin Williams got to play with, Will Smith got to play with, and now here I am putting my own spin on it.
And so big boots to fill, right?
Big boots to fill. Like that, some of my earliest inspirations were these guys doing all, you know, Robin Williams with all of his voices and all of his comedy. Will Smith, you know, I grew up watching Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, so I was like,
so did I, by the way.
Did you? Yeah, exactly. So I mean, like, I was like, okay, here we go, challenge accepted, but also let's have some fun, you know?
Desmonda, you're all the way from Jakarta in Indonesia. This is your first time here in Ireland.
This is my first time here in Ireland. I'm loving it.
Yeah. How did you get the role then of Princess?
Well, my audition started way before we even started rehearsals. It was like January 2023. I think it was like early in the year. So it took about 4 months of total, I think, that I auditioned, like 6 rounds in total, I think. So it was a long process, but like that's what you get when you want to cast this amazing show. Like you have to really be thorough and take your time and just like, you know, take your amazing sort of like, you have to really get the characters down. So I think I appreciate their time to just like really, you know, get us all in.
There's a huge cast and crew behind the scenes that make it all happen, right?
Absolutely, and they worked way before we were even in the audition room. So I think it's the thing that a lot of people doesn't see behind the show, basically on stage. But it's years of work and making, and now we're here.
This is your first time here to Ireland. How are you actually finding the Irish audiences? Because this is a theatre that can hold 2,100 people, right?
Yes, they are massive and they love every single second of it. They're so responsive as well. They laugh at every single joke and I'm like, thank you, audience, yes. We're doing something right. So yeah, I love it, love them.
Talk about your costume, Jockey. This is your Genie costume, right?
This is the famous Genie Blue, designed by Greg Barnes. And as you can see, it's just got all of the like ornate detail that you would expect from Disney's Aladdin. I mean, stepping out in this for the first time, I was like, whoa, we talked about those big boots to fill. It's a big costume to fill. The amount of people who have worn this across the world, you know, Broadway celebrating their 10th anniversary of, you know, doing this show. And I'm here, you know, with this costume in Dublin, you know, around the same time. It's wonderful.
In the show itself, you've got 4 costume changes, right?
I have 4 costume changes and also a 5th one when Genie finally gets freed, spoiler alert, and goes on his holiday. You know, he gets this Hawaiian shirt.
Sure, that you wear at the weekend.
That I wear at the weekend, correct.
And what about you? Tell us about your costume, Desmonda.
So this is my wedding costume, which is, I think, the most gorgeous one. And this skirt alone weighs 3 kilograms, and I have to dance in it on heels.
And all like stitched by hand, right?
Stitched by hand. This is beaded in India, so it's like a lot of like really artisan costume making all across the board. Not even just for Genie and Jasmine, but for every single costume. Like you see, it's so sparkly on stage. Like you can't even believe your eyes. It's like, well, how is it so sparkly and colorful? But hey, the design and the artistry behind it is just amazing.
Jockey, you've got 2 shows a day, so really jam-packed, right?
Yeah, so most of our days, are 2-show days. So we are, you know, hopefully giving the Dublin audiences what they want twice a day, most days of the week, you know, from Wednesday to Sunday. So yeah, there's always a chance for you to come and see the show, so please come down.
You're running until the 14th of April. Where to after that then?
We're going to Milton Keynes after, and we have the rest of the year to tour with Aladdin. So if anyone wants to come and say hi, we have the whole year to do the
We have a
show.
whole year. You're travelling all over the UK
Yeah,
and Europe, which is
exactly.
absolutely fantastic. But you're loving it here in Ireland and Dublin.
Oh my gosh, yes. It's so wonderful to be back. It's so wonderful to be back with these audiences and just among the atmosphere that Dublin provides.
All right, we'll come back to you in a few moments' time. But first up, we're going to speak to Ricardo here. And Ricardo is the fight captain. Am I correct in saying that, Ricardo?
That is
We've
correct.
got the gear on now. You're going to take us through some of the moves because there is a lot of sword fighting in the production itself.
Yes, there is. So there's a whole 5-minute number of sword fighting. So here is your sword, and we're going to get straight into it.
Okay, so you're going to demo 3 moves for us here this morning, right?
That's right. Okay, so first you're going to hit my sword horizontally. So we're going to go 1 and 2. So the shoulder and hip. So 1 and 2. The next one, you're going to swing it round
good,
to
right?
the left,
Okay.
to the right. That is a good hit.
Okay.
So round to the left. To the right. One more time. To the left, to the right. Very good. And then we're going to finish off. You're going to hold it up. You're going to block my hit over your head. And that's it. And you're going to throw me off. That's
Okay,
it. Good.
Let's do that
Okay.
again.
One more
I'm
time.
getting into it here.
And a hit. And up. Very
okay,
good.
Right, I'm
All right.
going to fix my copying here now.
That's it.
Okay.
You look great.
So
You
we're
look
going to
great.
do this in real time, right?
Here we go.
Okay, so
5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4.
There we go. I was born for the road. Come here, where can we find out more online?
Bord Gáis Energy Theatre.ie for more tickets and information.
Okay, Jockey, Desmonda, thank you so much for joining us. Ricardo and all our gentlemen here, they're absolutely fantastic. All our Habibis. Back to you in studio. Come on, I want to go again. Hiya! Hiya! Hiya!
I'm sorry.
Love it, Deric. Come on, keep going there, Deric. We've 30 seconds to fill.
It's like, will we get you a skipping rope and get you going again?
It looks amazing. I'm actually going to see it next week. I can't wait because when Disney productions come in, they're just amazing. Like their Beauty and the Beast was amazing. I believe this is absolutely...
Twice a day is a bit of a...
Oh my God, you're so tired.
Well, I do panto for twice a day for 4 weeks.
Sure, look, yeah.
So there
Sorry,
you go.
it's March. He's gotten the first panto plug in March. Easter, and he's gotten it in.
But
Fair play to Deric.
I'm looking forward to going and see it next week.
He's
It
so
looks
good
amazing.
at everything, though. See the way he picks things up very quickly.
I'm
Deric.
surprised he wasn't in one of the little waistcoat things.
Oh, yeah, that
Oh,
would've
he
been
will
great.
be. Give him a minute.
Give him a minute. And yes, he's got to stop off. We're not going to be here tomorrow, Good Friday. The Weekend Crew, they are taking Good Friday off. But coming up on Saturday, current king of the ballroom, Jason Smith, will be joining Ireland AM.
He won with Karen. It was great.
Celebrating 30 years since she introduced the world to Riverdance, broadcaster turned barrister Cynthia Ní Murcu will be stopping by.
Cynthia Ní Murcu. And there's advice on changing your sleep routine. And is the clocks going forward this weekend?
This Sunday,
Is it
isn't
going
it?
forward or back? What is it?
Springs forward, falls back.
We lose an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. You lose an hour this weekend, and there's an Indian fakeaway in the kitchen.
All that plus the news sport, and whether you are waking up to Saturday's Ireland AM is live from 9. Happy Easter!
Happy Easter! Happy
everybody.
Easter!
We'll see you next
Bye.
week.
Oh, thanks, Kieran.